Good morning, guys. It is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. This Bathrobe business. I'm Georgi Oganov. I'm out of coffee, but I still have the news. So I didn't have a video yesterday. I actually technically did. I recorded one, but due to a technical error, it didn't save. And so I was late for work. I'm like, all right, I'll just re-record it today with saving the best stories. So today's going to be a mixture of yesterday's stories and today's. So let's jump into it. The first thing I'm going to talk about is gold. Gold is let's dive into the numbers real quick. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen because lately I've been doing that. Is talking about a subject and not sharing it. Okay, let's make sure you guys can see that. Okay, you can. So gold is currently at 2629.80. Gold has been down since Donald Trump was elected. It was at an all-time high of about 2,800. Yeah, 2,801. It has since fallen about almost $200 since the election of Trump. The idea of a strengthening dollar, et cetera, et cetera. So even there was a small tick back up after interest rates were cut, but it's still below that record high. I honestly think this is a buy opportunity for gold. I would personally use the pullback. It probably after election day will probably fall even further, I would imagine, because this is all preemptive. It'll probably fall lower to the $2,500 range, maybe even below. I would use that pullback for sure. But Goldman Sachs came out with a report, and this isn't new. I've shared this on the channel before, but I honestly really need to go back in my history because I swear last time I shared this, they were saying December of this year. I'm almost positive on that because I've used that quote multiple times on this channel, is that Goldman Sachs has reiterated that their gold target of $3,000 an ounce by December of 2025. I think that's a very fair estimate of where gold is headed. I think it's probably going to hit 3,000 before 2025, even though I think there's going to be a pullback. If they keep cutting interest rates, you're going to see gold begin to climb again. And if Trump has major tariffs that he's going to put in place, if there's going to be major deportation, if construction gets constricted by his immigration policy, you're going to see rises in inflation and you're going to see rises in gold. So I would definitely use the pullback to buy it if possible. Speaking of rising prices, I'm going to share this story with you guys next. Rent prices keep rising amid inflation, but due to low inventory. So asking rents were up 3.3% in September 2024 to September of last year. Now, even though we keep saying that inflation is closer to 2% target, just rent alone is up 3.3%. This is also nationally because regionally it could be up much higher. Now, what's funny to me is this article does mention the average rent in Salt Lake City, Utah. It is $1,516. I would encourage anyone to try to find rent in Salt Lake City for $1,516 because that is going to be a tall order. It's usually $1,700 to $1,800 from everyone I talk to. I have a friend who moved back in with his parents because he cannot afford rent. It's becoming more than half his paycheck. And he was looking at places for around, $1,700. He can't seem to find anything lower. So I think this is a conservative number. This is obviously taking the highs and the lows. But I would say that these numbers are probably being padded a little bit to sound better than they are. So what's scary about this is in the face of of high interest rates. Now that interest rates are going to be cut, I would expect these rent prices to go even higher. Now, a lot of people will say that, well, lower interest rates means more stuff gets built. Perhaps. I don't see that happening. I see that a lot of more people are going to get into the market and raise the average price of renting, but we'll see what actually happens with that. But this is a concerning trend that even in the face of quote unquote low inflation, as they report it, not as we report it, even in the face of high interest rates, that rent is still going up nationally by 3.3%. Another story I want to talk to you guys about, this one is going to be concerning airlines. So I'm going to share this tab with you guys. So Spirit Airlines is actually filing for bankruptcy. This actually really surprised me when I saw this yesterday because I had always anticipated that Spirit was going to be highly profitable, but apparently not. Spirit Airlines is going through Chapter 11. Now, you can still fly Spirit. You can still purchase Spirit tickets. The company is not going away. This is just a debt restructuring. So its total debt and liability assets are between $1 billion and $10 billion. So they're going to be restructuring their debts and trying to pay those off any way possible in order to remain afloat. But they are currently still active and will be a functioning airline at the end of this. In other news similar to that, Boeing is laying off nearly 2,200 workers in Washington state. Now, this isn't new. This is actually the beginning of the round of layoffs we've talked about a month ago. So about a month ago, I reported that Boeing's going to be cutting about 10% of its workforce. So a total of about 17,000. This is the first round of it taking place up in Seattle. So this is where it kind of begins. So they're going to be going through progressive cuts over the next several months. So it looks like in order to reduce their total layoffs. So that's everything with the airlines. Next story I'm going to share is affecting us in Utah. This is really interesting. So I don't talk about this much on the channel because it hasn't come up too often. I think I mentioned it once in passing. But I am a huge fan of nuclear energy. I think there is no better form of energy than nuclear. So fuse, baby, fuse, fusion, baby, fusion. That's not a thing. But anyway, I am a huge lover of nuclear energy. And a nuclear mine here in Utah, just east, I believe, of Blanding, has reopened for the first time in something like, I believe, 35 years. Give me 1 second. Let me see if the article actually states it. It does not, but I believe it was an extensive period of time. So they are beginning to mine. Yes, okay, 2 different periods operating from 1979 to 1984, and then from 2007 to 2008. So actually, it was operational just about a little less than 20 years ago for a brief period of time. So they're restarting these uranium mines as there is a resurgence in nuclear energy, especially with the AI wave. We talked about this on this channel that a lot of AI companies need massive amounts of energy for computation, and then nuclear is one of the alternatives they're looking at to be able to supply them with that energy. So I think this is great news. It's going to create local jobs, of course, revitalize the area, and I think hopefully spur nuclear energy. So that's something that affects us here in Utah, and I think it's going to be a fantastic measure. Next thing, and probably last thing I'm going to talk about is retail. So retail is doing quite well. So today Walmart reported a fantastic third quarter. They delivered earnings per share of 58 cents versus the estimated 53. Revenues were 169.59 billion versus the estimated 167.72 billion. Their shares are up about 3% right now in the pre-market. This article, actually, the market just opened, so I wouldn't say it's quite pre-market. So they are up. They're also estimating a strong December and holiday season, with net sales growing between 4.8 and 5.1% for the full year. So they're expecting strong growth, as we've kind of seen in retail for the last several months. Since about September, we've been reporting retail companies doing very well. This is one of the reasons a couple weeks ago, I told you to invest in Bath and Body Works. I actually sold my shares because I didn't quite hit the $33 a share I wanted, but I made about $1,000 off of it, and I sold. I will actually probably repurchase it as another trade here because they're going to be reporting. When are they reporting? I think they're reporting earnings next week, next Tuesday or Wednesday. So I probably will use it again as a trade because I do expect strong earnings. But I think you should be looking at retail right now if you are looking for a trade, simply because retail is doing very strong. Similarly, Lowe's beat its earnings hike, but it does issue some guidance. So Lowe's did beat on earnings. So they delivered earnings of 2.89 per share versus the expected 282, with 20.17 billion in revenue versus a 19.95 expected. Now, they did temper the expectations because they're still anticipating a lower performance in the next quarter, with a year-over-year decline, but they're actually in a much better position than they were last year. Last year, they had tumbled about 13% year-over-year. This year, they're definitely recovering, but interest rates are obviously still choking them due to interest rates still being relatively high. So they underscore that in this article as well. So that's pretty much it. Retail is kind of the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with. I think it's a great area to be in right now. I will see you guys back here tomorrow, and I hope you guys have a productive Tuesday.